Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Karens. In today's episode, Karen runs out of gas, blames the cashier, aka me, and expects me to pay for it. Are you really closed? Entitled mom thinks what's mine is now hers and am a complete stranger. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Karen runs out of gas, blames the cashier, aka me, and expects me to pay for it. I have posted this story in another subreddit years ago, but I think it would fit well here. So enjoy. Okay, this is going back to 2003. I'm working a minimum wage at a very busy gas station in the UK. I had only been there a few months. That's outstanding considering the staff turnover for this place. I know the ropes of the place, and it's also, and still is, very busy. Lines of cars and trucks going down the highway and a line of customers going out the door, and I'm working alone as usual. Hundreds of customers with places to be. Cast: me, the overworked 17-year-old with a bright future of PTSD and other mental health goodness, next 15 years of bliss in this hellhole. Karen, missing her butler but still has a 10-yard pole up her. Customers, everyone else. Karen got out of a taxi, came up to the front of the line past 20 customers waiting patiently. Age 70 plus, she's dressed head to toe in a black velvet, a fur coat, and wearing more platinum jewelry than I've ever seen. She also looked vaguely familiar, see at the end. She demands in a very snobby voice, "I need fuel." Imagine Professor McGonagall from Harry Potter, but fatter. Me, I'm sorry, but you have to wait your turn, as I served customers. Karen, I need fuel and my car collected from down the road. Me and a few customers give her a weird look. If you've broken down, I have the number for a recovery service and you can use our phone, and hand her a card with the number and the phone in between customers. She just looked at the card and phone as if I put dead rats on the counter. Why can't you do it? Me, I'm afraid to say I can't, it's very busy today while still serving customers. Karen, no, why can't you go retrieve my car? Me wondering, WTF, we're a petrol station, we don't other recovery services. Karen, nonsense, you will collect my car this instant. I'm getting annoyed by now, so are the other customers. She lets her car run out of fuel, leaves it on a now gridlocked highway, gets a taxi to my station, and somehow it's my fault and responsibility rectify the situation? How? I can't close the station, I'm here on my own, I don't own a car or even have a license. I will call the recovery company for you when I have a free moment. Just be aware that they will charge a fee and need payment in cash, there is an ATM outside. She now gets red in the face. Are you stupid? Why should I pay? My car has run out of fuel. You have to deal with it. I'm trying to keep cool, serve customers, and finding an alternative to get her out the store at this point. In that case, there are fuel cans behind you that you can purchase and fill. Karen, very well. She picks up a 1-gallon can and slams it on the counter. Go fill it. I quickly say sorry to next customer and scan the can. That will be £5 and another £3.50 to fill it. £8.50 altogether. Karen, I'm not paying for that. It is your responsibility to provide fuel. And your customer service is atrocious. I refuse to pay. You will pay for my recovery, my fuel, and my taxi. Me, then you can leave. An entire line of customers start chewing her out too, telling her get the F out, we're busy and stupid of old cow. Karen, you will hearing from me about this and I will have your job for this insolence, and she storms out and gets back into the taxi that was blocking my forecourt. We did hear back her about a week later. She had gone to customer complaints, reached the regional manager and the national HR, claiming that I was responsible for her car running out of fuel, it being abandoned on a highway, refusing to pay for towing and refueling and being humiliated in front of other customers with demands of reimbursement and compensation for poor quality of service. Finally, a letter of apology written and signed by me with my letter of resignation. A week after this, the manager pulls me aside. She knew all about it. She heard the story from me and a few of our regular customers, as well as watched and heard it all on our security cameras. The Karen sounded crazy and looked like she had just come from a funeral. She chalked it up as being emotionally drained, senility, mental health, and said not to worry about it. She'd seen worse. Then she got the letters and phone calls from head office, and that threw her theory out the window. She handed me a copy of the response letter that was sent to Karen stating she was barred from all of our company's stations nationwide, informed that the company is not a charity and entering one of our stations or approaching our staff will result in removal by police. I read the name and realized she was my old principal from primary school. She was an old hellhound when I was 5 and looks like she just got worse as she got older. See you in hell, Mrs. M. I guess it took her a week to get back to her car, lol. I get these idiots a lot. I love the mental gymnastics they need to do to believe they deserve free stuff and compensation. Ever since you changed my brake pads, my radio doesn't work, fix it for free and refund me for all the maintenance of the past 5 years. You see that a lot in retail. You can explain most, usually drugs or booze. Her on the other hand. Not as entitled, but I was waiting in a queue to pay for my fuel. I put about £10 in as I was a little tight for money. The guy ahead of me pays and is about to leave. I get to the till and I'm told it's £70. I was like, no, I'm pumped too, it should be £10. The cashier called to the guy who just left that he'd paid for my pump. He comes back angry and saying to her she's stupid and that he's never coming here again. I pipe up and say, hey mate, she's not the one who gave the wrong pump number. I was a little annoyed. No way you would top your car up and think it was a tenner. He just grunts and everyone else in the queue behind gave me a smile showing support. People are so entitled and rude. He was just mad he got caught trying to pull a fast one. I always have a desire to reply to someone that says they will have my job. This, no you wouldn't, because you would have to deal with people like you. I may or may not have said this to someone. A few years ago, I had someone tell me they're coming back to see the manager and will have my job. I replied, you're welcome to have my job if you need the money that badly. Their complaint was because I wouldn't give them the 10% seniors discount their mother usually gets because she wasn't dining with her that day. What a letdown. I was waiting with bated breath for you to name a famous celebrity. Oh, you want celebs? I was in that job for 15 years and met a few celebrities. Frank Bruno, former WHW boxer, Vern Troyer, Timothy Spall, the old Top Gear crew, David Cameron and Roy Chubby Brown and Guy Martin were regulars. Same when I worked retail and there was a lineup paying for the items. This was in the early 2000s, so technically there was no Karens, but SOBs, spoiled adults. She walks up to me and hands me her American Express black card. I told her the line starts there, pointing at the end of the line. She said she has no time to wait. My manager heard what was happening and told her to move back of the line. The amount of abuse she got from other customers was laughable while she was calling us servants. Curious, you use a lot of Americanisms in your story: gas, highway, principal, and the term chewed out. I'm not debating the authenticity of your story in any way, BTW, but I'm just wondering why? I take an interest in local dialects and colloquialism in general is all, and found this quite an interesting read with you being UK based. Regardless, thanks for the story. She sounds insane. You'd be surprised how many don't understand British terms. Motorway, headmaster, and petrol are not universally understood. US terminology is pretty well known and I use them as universal examples. If I use my local slang, you lot will be scratching your top and calling me a nutter. Are you really closed? So, I work at an IHOP, a well-known restaurant that operates 24/7 and is popular for our all-day breakfast. As such, close very rarely. So, I understand why this customer was upset, but that still doesn't excuse their behavior. With that in mind, let's reveal this tale. Our store is changing over to a new computer and POS system, going from micros to a modern system called Tray. This new system is much faster than our old one, and will allow us to operate much more efficiently than before. Needless to say, we are more than ready to receive this upgrade, and we have set aside a day to install this new equipment. That brings us to today. We had operated this morning as usual, but we planned to close the restaurant from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. to let the IT guys install the new equipment. Keep in mind, it's not as easy as plugging in a new computer. They have to change out all of our wires throughout the whole building, install 4 new POS system, a new server, and a new manager computer. During this time when they're putting all this in, we are completely locked out of our system. So yeah, it's a lot, and we're not going to force our IT guys to stay up all night just to install this for us. We know they need sleep, hence why we set aside this particular afternoon for them. 2 p.m. comes around, and we get ready to shut down. We close all remaining tickets, send all non-essential employees home, just leaving my general manager, and me, the assistant manager. We clean everything, turn off the outside lights, and throw a sign on the door stating that we will be closed until 10 p.m. According to company policy, we cannot lock the doors for safety reasons, so this sign is the best we can do. 3 p.m. now, the IT guys show up and begin the process. They make quick work of tearing out all of our old wiring. That was the point of no return. Without wiring, our computers are completely useless, and we have to wait until the IT guys finish in order to open. This is where the drama begins. 4 p.m. now. The restaurant is completely torn apart, cables and wiring everywhere. The GM and I are in the office, chatting it up. Suddenly, we see someone walk in the front door on our camera monitor. Confused, I ask the GM if we put the sign up, which he says we did. I go up to the front, and oh man. You know how sometimes you can just tell that someone is a Karen? Well, I could tell this was one of them. I go up to the lady, who we'll simply refer to as Karen. I greet her politely, and then tell her that the store is closed because of our current situation. I even gestured behind me to the IT guys working with all the detached cables. Are you really closed? Karen asks. I tell her again that yes, we are closed. We will reopen at 10 p.m. tonight. She then asks me that she doesn't want to dine in, that she just wants to place a to-go order. I repeat for the third time that we are closed. Now at this point, I was already starting to get annoyed. How can this idiot be this oblivious? The lights are off outside. There's no cars in the parking lot. There's a sign on the door saying we're closed. I've told her 3 times that we are closed. But that's unacceptable for little Karen here. She gets all pissy at me and says some nonsense about how our website says we're open, and that we have to take her order. I tell her once again, we are closed. I even took the time to tell her that without computers to ring her order up, we literally can't do anything. At this point, she asks to speak to a manager. I tell her that I am a manager, but that wasn't good enough. She demands to speak to my manager, to which I grab my GM from the back. He comes up front and talks to the Karen, and tells her the same thing. At this point, this Karen was practically fuming, and began threatening to report us to corporate, to the news, etc. Even my GM was starting to get pissed at this point. He told her to leave, and little Karen got all pissy again. However, my GM said something I never thought I'd hear him say. Ma'am, as the manager of this location, I have the right to refuse service to anyone. Now, you have about 30 seconds to leave this store, or I will call the police and have you removed. You should have seen the look on her face. My jaw was practically on the floor. This lady gave the GM one of the nastiest looks I've seen, turned around, and walked out. Of course, it never ends that smoothly. As she walks out the front door, she turns around, hurls a rather nasty racist remark about our GM, who is Hawaiian. Our GM simply told her to leave again, although by this point his calm demeanor was failing, and he was raising his voice at her. After all was said and done, we returned to the office and calmed down. Fortunately, the rest of the afternoon went smoothly, and we reopened at 10 p.m. as planned. So yeah, that's how yesterday went for me. I hate Karens. I can't stand customers like that. It's like they think there's this giant conspiracy going on to specifically deny them service. Doesn't matter how much evidence to the contrary is in front of their faces, they must be served now. Main character syndrome is a horrible disease with ripple effects for everyone around. I mean, I really like the pancakes and all, but I'm not gonna fight you if you say you are closed. I mean, if there were no BOH staff around, Karen would have had to cook her own pancakes anyway. Should have told her to make everyone some while she was back there. I'd have laughed if she called corporate. Who exactly does she think schedules this stuff and approves the closures? Good for you. And good for your manager for having your back and for telling Karen where she could and should go. I wish either of you were managing the IHOP near my home. Inconsistent hours, even though the sign says 24 hours, outrageous waiting times when there's no one in the restaurant. The last time I went in, the employees were hanging out in the kitchen and wouldn't acknowledge the people waiting out front. We could hear them talking and laughing but could not get their attention. Otto, there's the IHOP near my mother's place. When we went in there a couple of weeks ago, I think there was one employee on duty FOH, serving, cooking, and he was fast and courteous. Got a 50% tip from me, too. Well, it says you're open on Google, so that means you're lying. What are some people think will happen honestly by confronting them about the hours like? Oh well, you caught us. Google says we're open. Drats, you foiled our plan. Now we have no choice but to open up just for you. So delusional and main character like. Of course. Someone must have accidentally put all these chairs up and closed down the registers. Silly us. Can we comp you a meal for the inconvenience? Customer is always right guy. Ma'am, as the manager of this location, I have the right to refuse service to anyone. Now, you have about 30 seconds to leave this store, or I will call the police and have you removed. This is a line that needs to be utilized more often. I would have told her, sure, what can we make for you? Aha, great. It will be ready around 10:20 p.m. Cash or charge? One strategy one have used in all aspects in my life dealing with Karens is to emphasize the fact that it's impossible to help them. You aren't simply denying their request on a whim, it's that their request is absolutely unfeasible. Their request cannot be granted and there is nothing to be done. Watching Rick on Pawn Stars saying no to people while simultaneously not driving them away from doing business in the future can help. I learned so much from that show. I would have told her that, bullshit or not, that the kitchen is literally closed, all equipment is disconnected, there is no one there that cooks food, and you seriously are incapable of helping them. I'm not asking for equipment, just eggs and sausage. Maybe some coffee to go too. That's all. Entitled mom thinks what's mine is now hers and am a complete stranger. This may be a bit long, so I apologize. I sat down on the train. A little girl sits next to me and her Karen mom sits across. About 10 minutes after train moves I start playing on Nintendo Switch. Little girl sees it and asks if she can play. I said yes, but ask mom. Mom says yes, so let her play. I also ask what stop they getting off at, as I'm getting off few stops before the end of the line. After about an hour I'm coming very close to station. I said sorry sweetie, I'm getting off here, and LG hands switch back to me with a big smile and an even bigger thank you. It's been nice and quiet for an hour and it was fantastic seeing the happiness on the LG face while she was playing. Then it all went downhill. Enter the Karen. Karen then says my daughter is having so much fun with the Switch, can't she keep playing? I said no sorry, I'm getting off at the next stop. Karen goes nuclear and shouts out. My daughter is having more fun with it than you. What's a grown man doing playing with a children's toy? Just give it to her. I said I have given it to her for the past hour to play with while you've been playing with your phone. Karen screams, if you gave it to her then it's hers and not yours. WTF. I asked her if she heard of the concept of borrowing something and saw my stop coming. Without further ado, I pick up my bag with the Switch packed nicely away. I then said to the LG, you seem like a very nice well-behaved little girl, please don't turn out like your mother. Walked off the train after getting last word in, breathed the sweet air of freedom, then met mates in the pub where I told this story. Didn't know the whole pub was listening until everyone roared with laughter and barman gave us a free pint of Guinness. Lovely. This is in England, and until today I thought those Karen beasts existed only in America. This is why we can't have nice things anymore. These Karen moms are half the reason people don't want to engage with kids, even when they are nice. I had to laugh when you said that you thought Karens were only from America. My very first Karen story read on here was from India. I believe that she thought that no one was allowed to eat meat around her. She ended up throwing another patron's food on the floor before being kicked out of the restaurant and paying for the food that she wasted. I've seen this story here on Reddit in a few different ways. I don't know if this is real or not, and I apologize if it did happen, but it reads almost word for word like other posts. You're right, actually. This story, it's very true. This happened to me Saturday morning over the bank holiday weekend, but a lot of Reddit posts do seem to be formulaic, which is a bit weird. Man, Brexitania is full of Karens. Ask any foreigner. But I think their name is typically something like Deborah or Donna. Didn't you post this story before? This seems oddly specific to be a coincidence. Switch on a train. Polite girl plays for a while. Mom freaks out when OP has to get off train. Usually bad behavior is reinforced because it works and they get their way, but really, has any Karen ever got to keep a game phone laptop by being a dish-a-bag? Or is it hope that if they try it enough times one magic day some sap will fold and just give in? You want my Switch? No problem, it's £1,000. Cash. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.